I think I ran out of memory. That's the only reason why I had a long spiel about being a redeemer or forced into the role of redeemer, just like we all are in some sense through worshiping other deities, other gods, through harvesting systems like working. Um, Also, through birthing others, you're transferring your karmic debt to other people, and as well as being used as sacrificial beacons or sacrificial children, birthing sacrificial children, and you being the sacrificial beacon for the matrix gods, mystic beings, demons, and for other people, so they can flourish and have a better life while you stuck. I was unknowingly forced into the role of redeemer in this matrix system. And I think it happened when I was in my own place and I started advocating for R. Kelly for a celebrity. But I was also advocating for all, for human mankind as well, and redeeming them and exonerating not only myself but them as well. But we call ourselves redeeming ourselves to a being that created the good and the evil. So it's 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 a duality system that we're forced into, like Jesus Christ and Yeshua was forced into the role of redeemer. That's why you know so much. I know so much. It's because when you're being placed in the middle, you can't help but be exposed to everything. But he was forced into a role that he didn't want, which was to die for the sins of others, because they were incapable of paying for their own karmic debt. So they rather just sacrifice. Some people rather just sacrifice others to pay their debt instead of taking full responsibility. And that's why I can't help but be to trauma bond with certain celebrities and certain individuals, R. Kelly and P. Diddy, because they're being sacrificed for others, for the sake of others. They're they're paying for karmic debt. They pay for karmic debts of other people's in the industry, other than themselves, and that's where we have to stop this. We have to fight to band together to end this type of abuse, because there's exploitation and manipulation, being manipulated to being a redeemer when you didn't consent to it or anything. And if you did, you shouldn't have to anymore. None of us should be having to sacrifice to any deity or any being, because Christ fought for us to break free from ever having to sacrifice for anyone. That's why we don't birth any more beings into existence, because you're transferring karmic debt to your children when you birth them into existence. And that's why they have to be the curse breaker by what? Stopping the lineage. That's what we all should be, curse breakers. We should be stopping the lineage and leaving this world forever, going extinct out of this world, because this world is a duality realm. It's a polytheistic realm. From the words you speak, from the deities' names are tied to other names of other deities. These beings are not slick. They think they're clever, but they're not. If you do research, you will see it. So it's for us to break free from them and from even ourselves, because what's going on is that some beings are tempted to use their abilities to place karma wrongfully on others, and forcing others or tricking others to be sacrifices, because they don't want to do the work themselves to pay for their own sins. That's why sacrifices of animals and blood sacrifices was going on in the Old Testament ancient times, because they simply just didn't want to pay for their debt, so they used a shortcut, and that is a shortcut, spilling the blood of another being. Now, another way of, like I said, another form of transferring in sacrifices is through worship, through unknowingly being a sacrificial beacon for the few at the top. They able to manifest what they want in the pulpits, but you still praying and haven't gotten your prayers answered. Why? Because you're taking on karma debt. But why do they defend that abusive system, or patriarchy, or hierarchy system, or triangle system? Well, You did it to Christ. You did it to a Messiah. You did it to those apostles. They died fighting for what they believed. But they were wrongfully placed in their position as well, especially Yeshua Christ, Jesus Christ, by the one that created good and evil, or by gods and mere beings who forced others into existence, because forcing others into existence is insatiate and non-consensual. We have what it takes to break free from this evil system. And how do we break free from this evil system? By not birthing more people into the curse of life, of evil, because that's what it is. Creation is evil, and karmic debt transferring is evil. Sacrificial beacons and sacrificial children are evil. Crucifying is evil. It is a fallen ritual, just like other rituals are fallen and are pagan or polytheistic. Polytheist. So, it's time for us to fight together and take on our rightful karmic debt, what's rightful ours, and stop transferring debt to others. So that's why I've sang that, wrote this song, Holy Baby Oil Baptized, to exonerate P. Diddy, to free him and free others who is wrongfully taking on more karmic debt than they should. Because certain people want to escape their own sin and debts that they accrued by tricking, coercing people into being sacrificial beacons and karmic debt transferring into karmic debt transfer. So we need to rise. And I know I can't wait to get out of this abusive system.